Today we're reacting to Adventures with Purpose. Hello everyone, my name is Gus.
Hi, I'm Woody.
And today we're going to be reacting to, I think, one of the most requested videos ever.
Wow.
Which is also in combination with one of the most requested collaborations. A lot of people ask us to work with the guys from Adventures with Purpose, a channel that we subscribe to, and we love those guys. I think they do a great job.
I do too.
They've been, for those of you who are unfamiliar with them, I'm going to put the link to their channel below so you can check them out as well. But what they do is they travel the country and they look for missing people. And they found a bunch of people.
Yeah.
That had accidents. Their car ran out of a bridge or something like that into a lake. It sank. And, you know, there's been a lot of years and nobody ever found. It's like cold cases, basically. So it's like, we don't know what happened. They disappear one day. We don't know.
They've solved unsolved cases.
For sure. And some of them are pretty tough, like emotionally. It's like, you know, moms with their kids and stuff like that is really, really tough. So the work they do is great. I think they get criticized a lot too because everybody says, well, you know, they're doing it for money. They're doing it for views. Who cares? If they're solving cold cases and bringing people closure, they can make $10 million a video. I don't care, right? This
totally
is not,
agree. So that's like an irrelevant point to me.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty dumb. But anyway, we're big fans of those guys. But one of the videos that we get the most requests about is there's one of them. The main two guys are Jared and Doug. They have other team members to help, especially with cinematography, and also from diving. Some other people help them. That, you know, Doug is less experienced than Jared, and he until a few months ago he didn't have a whole lot of experience diving deep. So Jared took him to like 100 feet just so he can feel what that looks like, because they were about to leave on a trip throughout the country, basically solving cold cases. And some of the depths that they can dive to can be pretty deep. So he's like, you know, just so you're ready, I'm going to take you down.
Okay.
So during the dive, Doug had an issue, and we're going to review it today. We're going to give our thoughts about it as we're reacting to today. But the other thing that happened and that I've noticed when people request us to react to this video is that they have a lot of concerns for the fact that Jared is acting like an instructor. He is like, why is this guy teaching Doug something if he's not an instructor, right? They have a lot of concerns about that.
Well, what is he? What's his certification level?
Okay, so I reach out to him and I ask because I didn't want to pretend that I know.
No, yeah, I like facts.
Right. So I reach out to him, and he sent me a message. So I'm just gonna read it.
Okay.
Right. I'm also going to put it on the screen so you can read it as well. But earlier this year, I invited him to come here to the studio and we can react to it together. And the plan was for him in February to come here and record. And at the last second, the trip got too complicated and he had to leave. So I'm just going to read it. Remember, pretend that this is before February when we were about to get together. All right. So Jared said, hey guys, happy to cover it all when we get together in February there in Georgia. I'm open about my feelings about organizations, for I've been part of many that all start with what's usually an egocentric individual, the instructors. And we've talked about this before.
Okay. That's not an invalid comment, and I'm hoping we're trying to change that, because I do agree it should not be about the instructor.
That's right. My certification is open water and dry suit, for the purpose of air and suit rental if I ever need it. So that's all he had, or at least he had until like January of this year. Just open water diver. That's it. The rest has been and always been hands-on learning from others. I will 100% say that I will not support any pay-to-play collector of all certifications. It's not my game. I'm all for never thinking I know it all. I learn from the advice of others, although not always taken, and hands-on getting out and doing stuff. I will not tether, and I have reasons based upon those who have passed away before me. I don't know why he was talking about tethering. I didn't mention that, but he brought that up. Maybe he gets a lot of feedback on that on his channel. So
I'm gonna let you finish. I just have thoughts already.
Okay.
I'm struggling with these comments.
Right. Happy to be very open and on your show about it when we get together. My way is not the way of all others, but of some. I have my own set of rules, such as I personally won't go into anything like a cave or anything I don't have an up as my escape. We can certainly talk about how I think cave divers have made risk-rewards decisions that I have not. We can talk about how and why I've personally set up my BC. So he has like this custom setup that he says, it works for them, for what they do. The good news is that with the experience, we all can make our own decisions in our diving careers, and there's no dive police to come put us in underwater scuba jail. I'm almost done.
I'm biting my mouth as hard as I can.
Powered paragliding is a great example for which it was unregulated for years until two egomaniacs decided to hate each other and create competing organizations, leading to a split amongst pilots in the sport, bashing one another, and thinking one could not fly without proper made-up certifications. So I guess something happened in paragliding. They split and everything, didn't go well. Anyway. That's me, and while I respect those who have decided to get their underwater pumpkin carving certification or those who have paid to move up the ranks in their dive career to teach others, more power to them. In the end, know that I'm very open-minded and always happy to take in the new knowledge and techniques I may be unaware of that you may be able to pass along. Of course, I won't get a certification for it. Thanks, Jared. And this is, by the way, directly related to the fact that, and I think this is the first time we've mentioned this, we've invited Adventures with Purpose to train with us with no cameras or anything. I said this is not for views or clicks or subscribers. I don't care about that. I want to help. And let's just work on buoyancy and trim. Because one of the things you'll notice on their videos is when they go down to look for cars or whatever, they immediately just go to the bottom and the whole place is silted out. You can't see anything. So I said, Jerry, if anything, just for video quality, because I'm a fan and I watch your videos, let me show you how you can avoid that to a degree. Maybe not completely, but some of the techniques we use in cave diving can be beneficial so you guys don't silt the whole place out. So you can still do your jobs without destroying visibility. So he was open to that. He said, sure, we can talk about it. I'm open to training. So we may still do that in the future if they're still open to it. So the invitation is still there. There's a quarry here nearby that has cars in it. So it's perfect for this kind of training. And it's silty big time. So it'll be great to do that. If we can film it, cool. If not, that's fine too. I just want to help. So what are your thoughts on the statement so far?
Well, listen. I think that dive education with a proper certification is important for when there are problems, when there are serious problems. If everything goes great in a dive, it's very easy to think, why do I have to get this certification? I breathe, I go underwater, and I come back up. There's nothing more to it than that. Now you could look at the certifications as whatever comments he made.
Yeah.
I do agree, I'll start with that there are outliers with the certifications that are just for fun. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Those aren't bad either. And let me tell you why. Number one, they bring people into diving, which I'm all for. They make people more aware of diving. And they typically lead to dive education even in those classes that relate to safety items. Every single one of those crazy certifications, like I'm going to dive as a pumpkin, whatever you want to make.
Carving,
okay,
yeah.
whatever.
Which is a real certification, by the way.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
The agencies have specific rules that bring in emergency situations. Now look. There are egos in diving. For some reason, instructors believe when they get an instructor certification that somehow they're way better than everybody else. Even divers that are more experienced than them but don't have the instructor certification.
Yeah.
I do not believe in that. I have many, many people that don't have instructor certifications that I cave dive with that are better than some cave dive instructors.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I do believe is that if he wants to do any form whatsoever of involving another diver, who has no experience, he must have had the proper training within worldwide accepted procedures to train that person. Otherwise, that person is a bad buddy for somebody else that has an emergency, and in fact, he may be making it more dangerous on himself as well. Because right now, I would be shocked if I go through and I surprise him with 5 or 6 emergency situations right now if he handles those correctly and doesn't potentially put himself and me in a dangerous situation, unless he has in fact gone through proper training and just for some reason refused the certification. That's fine. You don't have to. If you had an instructor that was nice enough to say, I'm going to show you these things, but you're not paying for the certification, I don't care about the card. So I agree with. I don't care. But to say that we don't need it, and then this final point I'll make, I mean, you asked, is that if we don't have these dive agencies in place, if we don't have this proper training, we are going to be a regulated industry by the government. How many of you have seen government programs as it is related to adventure activities or sport activities that you think would do a better job than we as a unified people of experience would do? Do you think they would? Do you think the state of Florida State Board of Diving,
oh my God,
would do a better job with training you and I to go all the way through our DPV cave diving? Do you think they would do a better job than IANTD, the guys that were involved in inventing cave diving? So you see, you got to just remove the part that you're mad, that it's upsetting, that it costs money, and just focus on long-term, big picture. It does create more safety. It does.
All right. So I have some thoughts on what Jared did, but I want to watch the video first, and then we'll make a call.
I'm sure, by the way, we're going to get some criticism on this long intro, but you asked for an immediate response.
I want to set it up.
What part of this bridge is 100 feet deep?
So you have 130 feet at that buoy right there. And then you have roughly 92 feet at the middle buoy.
Wow.
Looks cold.
That's a deep
So we're going to take Doug down to
It's a canyon.
100 plus feet today.
So how deep do you want to go today? Do you want to do 130 or do you just want to do barely over 100?
No, I don't want you to do anything you can't handle. You know, 130 sounds great.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll put in at this one then. Well, if we put it in at this one, I know that if we go from there and we drop down to 106 is where the ATM is at.
I'm going to pause this video unless you cut me off and say, don't pause it.
No, go ahead.
I already can tell that Jared, like me or not, I'm just going to say it as is.
Yeah.
I already can tell that you do not know what you're talking about as it relates to deep diving. The first thing you should talk about as it relates to deep diving, when you say handle it, handle what? Handle being narked?
Okay.
Because let me explain. You could be narked, Jared, and so could he. Well, how do you know he can handle being narked? How are you going to know? You mean when there's an emergency? See, if he hasn't gone through the training of experience, what narcolism is, how to deal with it, and so forth, what do you mean handle? You mean...
Is that a word, narcolism? I didn't know. That's the thing?
If you're narked...
Yeah.
Which is...
I mean, that if it's not a word, it should be a word.
Which is narcolism. Narked is not a word.
Okay.
Narcolism.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't
What? Well, I guess you couldn't handle it, Jared, because you're now narked and went straight down to the bottom and died. See, that kind of thinking doesn't make sense to me.
Right. So Doug, the guy who's going deep is the guy with the beer, right? Jared is the one on the right. But the main thing that gave it up that he's not an instructor is that he's asking his student, Doug, how deep do you want to go today? Right? As an instructor, I can imagine me asking a deep diving student, say, hey, how deep do you want to go? Like, there's a plan, right? And I think this is where the agencies come in handy. They say, you're going to do 3 dives. One dive is over 60, then 60 to 80 feet, then 80 to 100, then 100 to 130. Like, it's a progression. Little by little, you go deeper.
But there's whys. He didn't
Right.
explain the brief. You got to brief him. Why am I asking you if you can handle it?
Right.
What's the difference? 20. I can handle 20 feet. So why are you asking me if I could handle 100 feet? Is
Right.
it temperature? Is it noisier?
Right.
There's
But remember
things
that-
that we teach for this.
Remember the dog, the guy who's going to go deep, was the one who asked Jared, well, depending on how much you can handle. What does that mean?
Exactly. I
Right.
mean, I'm going to ask your
Dog
wife, hey,
asking.
Susan, I'm going to take you into JB. It's high flow, as long as you can handle it.
No, imagine me telling
It's
a student,
insane.
hey, how deep you want to go? And the student telling me, I don't know, how much can you handle?
So, okay, that's why I pause it.
and you're on the hillside. Over here, you can get confused on which way down and up because you're still dropping into this big canyon right here.
Okay.
So let's do the middle buoy.
Yeah.
Take the hillside down to
Okay.
106 or so. Maybe we'll take you down 115 or so.
All right.
And then we'll make our way back up. And we'll
Same
come up
point.
Yeah.
This side over here.
And this will be my official first time over 55 feet. And not only are we going over 55 feet, over 100 plus feet. Sounds good. I'm excited just to have any clarity.
Alright.
You know, I have over 50 dives. I've lost count. I don't even keep track. But all of them are with inches of visibility. Chocolate milk.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys see the videos. Like, it's crazy. So this is exciting for me. Even though it's freezing cold, I have visibility. I can see what I'm doing. It's a fun dive. Another cool thing about today is I'm using a whole new setup. I'm using the setup that Jared designed, and it's a weightless system. It basically streamlines what we do. It allows me to use a pony bottle. So it's completely different. So not only am I going to go to 100 feet, which I've never done, I'm also using a setup.
By the way, just so people
I don't know
understand.
how many times you want me to stop it. Do you want me to stop
but ju-
and comment on this?
Just so people, because they can see our faces getting more like animated. At least for me, the reason why
I know you know what I'm
animated
thinking.
is that they keep introducing new things over new things over new things.
Listen,
Oh, by the way, this is the first time I'm doing over 50 feet, let alone 100. Oh, by the way, I'm using a pony bottle. Oh, by the way, I'm like on and on and on.
and
New stuff.
I worry because you see, when people watch stuff like this,
Yeah.
if you think that it wasn't a big deal for them, so you can now do this and you can dive deeper and you can introduce new gear and so forth and so on without the proper training, you're wrong. You're wrong. Like, it's extremely dangerous, and I don't advocate any of this. I want these guys to like me. I would love to do more with them. So far, I'm not even remotely kind of even close to what they're doing.
Yeah.
There's not even a proper briefing. We could start just with that. So
Well, let's watch.
out of due respect,
more.
it's everything I'm against.
It's scary so far, yeah.
That is a lot better than what I was originally using before.
Is that a good idea that he's going 100 feet and he's never tested this system before?
Yes, because I'm going with him. We have beautiful clarity, and we're also going to be on full face mask with communication. So if anything goes wrong, I'm there to help him out.
Okay.
So this is perfect time.
Most of the
Because
Do you know how complicated everybody a full face mask is? Gus, have you ever dove with a full face
Nope.
mask? Do you know how to clear a full face mask?
No clue.
Do you know what to do if you have a full face mask squeeze?
What?
Do you know what to do? How do you clear your nose, Gus, in a full face mask? You can't squeeze your nose. I just want you to know that.
Right.
Can you? You're an instructor.
Right.
You are an incredible diver. You just said no to all of those things.
No idea.
Do you think Doug knows?
I don't know.
He's got 50 dives, and he's going with a guy named Jared that
Yeah.
is not a full face instructor. Gus, would you go to 100 feet with a full face mask?
No chance.
Without me giving you any instruction whatsoever?
No.
Okay, point made. Let's keep going.
some point in your life, you have to have the training to go to the next level.
Right.
This is that training day to help take him to that next level.
What about
What about a pool?
the risks and knowledge of dry suit squeeze?
I love
This is not his first dry suit dive,
No.
is it?
look, if there's one superstar, I'm just gonna, and I, again, like you, I want these guys to like me too. If there's one superstar in this whole video, is Josh, the guy recording this whole thing. Josh Cantu did such a good job.
The questions.
The questions are like, Do you think?
You're right about
it's a
that.
good idea for him to be going 100 feet with a brand new setup?
You know what? That is the greatest point. Gosh,
He's
this guy
he's
is
the
asking
star.
all the questions that we're thinking. But by the way, Doug never dove with a dry suit? Okay, come
I
on.
mean,
This is a hard one. You really gave me a tough one here. This can kill you. A dry there, we haven't reacted to it yet. There was a recent death from
There's a
a
lot of video to go.
from a girl that dove with a dry suit with a dry suit instructor.
Yeah.
And just died.
Doug has the knowledge of how to release the squeeze off of his dry suit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'll be talking him through what needs to be done, especially as we're coming up, especially once we hit 110, 130 is where we start coming back up.
And we have comms too, so we'll be connected
With
to
each other?
Yeah, we'll be connected to each other.
They can talk
and,
as they
we'll
die.
Be able to
And
step by step go through it.
There are 10 skills in the dry suit class. One of them is how to relieve the pressure. One of the 10 mandatory skills. Mm-hmm. I'm a dry suit instructor.
so I'll go over the dive computers with Doug here today. So
First time using
up,
these
and
computers
so we'll
too.
each have a dive computer that will give us air readings on our main tank and your pony tank.
With the illuminated background on these, when you don't have great visibility, it's going to allow me to see it a lot better.
Compasses are built into them, so we'll get all that dialed in. A few things we need to do though is because I just assembled all this last night.
Yeah.
You're blue. From now on, moving forward, this is your setup is blue.
Nice.
I'm sticking with red, so red goes to red, but I have to program these for these sensors here.
Okay.
So they're wireless Bluetooth,
Uh-huh.
and then that way I can have readings on my pony tank and readings on my main tank.
Good stuff.
So
Cheer
I'll
water.
set those up first.
Cheer
Like I said,
water.
I'm kinda
That
nervous
part I
that
compliment
drop
you on.
weight. I guess I've been holding on to that in my head, like for no reason, maybe. But
Just put air in your BC or your suit. You have. Think
that's
about.
right. That's right. Yeah, I have 2 air
Think
signals.
about this.
so,
You have
yeah.
redundancy now.
Yeah.
You have redundancy for breathing. You have redundancy for clean air.
You're right.
Yourself
You're
up.
absolutely right. So with the other setup, the quick drop weight release, it's foolproof no matter what you're doing.
So Doug is nervous that he doesn't have quick ditchable weights.
I don't know what he has. He said he has no weight. Does he have weights?
No.
So it's just steel tanks and a steel backplate BCD?
Basically.
Does he know if it's weighted properly for him?
No.
Was he
course
briefed on doing a weight check?
What?
Does he know the importance of why we even care about doing a weight check? Okay. Yeah.
Going up.
You're
But
coming.
at 100 feet, you can't just drop weights.
No, you can't. No, at 100 feet, you can't. You can. You might be a little sick. You might get a free nap in a really nice cozy bed for a couple weeks.
This is going to communicate with the computer. Shear water.
So no wires.
Wireless. Completely wireless.
Which is extra safety.
What this does, by having this, it eliminates 2 hoses. Because the less things we have for entanglement, the better.
Yes.
Otherwise, this would have to run to a pressure gauge, and this one would have to run to a pressure gauge.
True.
That's what this is just giving us our pressure gauge settings.
Which is normally what I would have here. My pressure gauge, I usually have to keep track of.
And it dangles, and
Yeah.
it drags,
Yeah.
and you get snagged.
Yeah.
You no longer have that.
Yeah.
You're welcome. So let's go to
It's a good move. Good job.
mode setup to make sure we're set on everything properly. So because we're going so deep in it, and we have to continue to, one, I have to think about it, but we also have to, teach you about this. So in here, I have a secondary mask for you. So what ends up happening is if for any reason you have to take your full face off, as you're taking it off, don't forget to purge, okay? So that way you're ready to breathe.
Right.
So don't forget to purge this as you're putting it in your mouth. Don't put it in your mouth and then try to take a breath, because there's going to be water that's stuck in here. You don't want to take, I need air now, and that first breath you take is water.
So basically, in case you know, though you guys are not following. So what they have in the back is they have a main tank, and then they have a pony bottle. The pony bottle is connected to the inflator hose, which is also like an Air 2 system that you can breathe out of as an alternate. So the idea is if you run out of air in your main tank, you would then switch to your Air 2 and breathe out of that. That's what he's talking about. Does that make sense? So the Air 2 is connected to the pony, not to the main tank.
You do understand that Jared, you do understand that in a full face mask, you can drown. You can't drown per se from a mask, regular mask flooding. You do understand with a full face mask, you can drown, never having the ability to take it off. Do you know how to deal with the potential drowning effect of a full face mask?
This is the first time I've ever heard this.
Okay.
It's going to choke you up.
That's why there's a class for it.
Once you have that
Same.
under control, remember at this point you've been neutrally buoyant. Just stay there. Don't freak out. Go for your mask. Put your mask on. Now you're back. Yeah, you know how to clear your mask.
Yeah.
So now you have that in your mouth.
Got that going.
That was
Put your
good.
mask on.
Yeah.
Old school diving.
Yep.
And then take a look at your gauge and get a sense of everything that's going on.
Gotcha.
So and stay calm. You have air. Stay calm. But the number one thing is to get air in your mouth.
Yep.
Doug's good at staying calm.
Yeah. I've been tangled up on several dives.
I know you'll come up. Oh, I was caught in the rope. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I had to cut it loose.
And you know, through my classes and being around advanced divers like Jared, I know just stay calm. The biggest thing is stay calm, understand you have air, and for me, what's gotten me out of trouble a lot is my knife. Like I'll get so tangled up in stuff that there's no backing my way out or undoing what I just did. So cut myself free. You know, I've had my mask ripped off because you get around these cars and you're you know, I'm going around them. I'm searching for windows. Are they up? Are they down? Damage on the vehicle? What wheels I can get to? How we're gonna rig it? So I'm going through all these things as I'm going around a vehicle. And you got to think a vehicle on a current collects so many things, you know, trees and ropes and fishing lines, you name it. You know, cars are like magnets for debris. So when you're around them, you're going to get tangled up.
Yikes.
Staying calm is absolutely critical.
Yep.
That's a very, very smart point, and I totally agree with that. And he did mention at first that he did learn that from classes. And Doug.
I actually had a conversation with someone on YouTube earlier today. They left a comment saying that something like, I don't care what you say, when it's a death or life situation, you cannot stay calm. Like, you can do it. It's been proven. And I think what people don't understand when it comes to cave diving is that a lot of training weeds out the people that cannot stay calm.
Yes.
Because during training, they will put you in situations that are tough. Like, you can't see anything. They will literally cover your eyes. They will close one of your tanks off because you have redundancy. If you're in open circuit, they will literally, well, they won't close it off, but they'll tell you this regulator no longer works. You run out of air. So you have to switch to another one. You have to share air with your buddy without seeing anything. They will put you in really, really tough situations on a very safe environment with an instructor, so that if you cannot handle situations like that, you are never going to get certified as a cave diver, because they don't want to have someone on a real life situation that panics. So, and I mentioned that out of the population, there's a very small percentage of people that cannot panic. Like, they're like ice water for blood. No matter what happens, they're staying cool and they can make decisions. Very small percentage. There's also a small percentage of population that can never not panic. Whatever happens, you can teach them. If something, death or, you know, life situation, they are going to panic no matter what. But the vast majority of people can get over panicking by training.
I don't have one word to add to that.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yep.
I would say on every other car that I'm around, that I'm going around, I get tangled up on something.
Dang.
Guaranteed. Having visibility, finally. We're not diving in chocolate milk. And to top it all off, it's like I'm like in a whole new vessel.
So look at this setup, Woody. I hate to stop it so often, but wouldn't that like throw you to a side? Like, that has to be heavy. This is a steel tank, by the way. Wow. It looks like a steel, I don't know, 20 something. Looks like.
Yeah,
I mean, it looks like a Faber steel tank to me. It might be aluminum, but that's steel, right?
yeah. I mean, I can't. It's some form of
Gotta
diving.
throw
with,
you sideways.
It's some form of diving with steel doubles. It's some form of that. I don't know.
But it's not center like
It's not
doubles.
centered, but there's other issues with diving with doubles. I
Right.
mean, there's a class for diving with doubles.
Yeah.
There's a whole class just for that.
Yeah, I don't like this setup because I can tell that if I get in the water and I'm on trim, not vertically, if I go on trim like a diver, I'm gonna flip. to
And by the way, I'm not a doubles instructor. That's why I'm saying
not.
what I'm saying. I'm being vague. Like, there's a lot of issues related to. I'm smart enough to know don't dive with doubles, Woody, because you haven't taken the class.
Right. This is a pony. He just mounted on the back, so it's not on the way.
Yeah,
I get it. I get the purpose of it.
Yeah, I get the purpose.
It's just
but
on the side is a problem.
You know what? You're not going to be able to go home for 6 hours.
Why?
Yeah, there's a pass. You can't go over a pass. Whenever you go diving and you dive deep, you can't go
I'm
up
from
and over.
Oregon.
That's
Listen, you know the
I'm
rules.
from Oregon.
I don't.
You can go
altitude.
see Spider-Man
Well,
again.
You want to explain that really quick?
Well, it's frustrating me again because you see, the advanced diver is not explaining the issue of why you can't go over a pass. He just said you can't go over a pass.
Right.
Very simple. Your nitrogen bubbles will continue to expand beyond the surface.
As you go
The
higher.
computer is programming you to get back to the surface, pretty much sea level or 1,000 feet or below. If you're going to go above 1,000 feet, what did you do for your dive planning to account for the fact that your bubbles now are going to expand even more? Right. Otherwise, you're going to get bent
Right.
when you go up to that level. The bubbles expanded more than you planned for in the dive, and you could get severely bent.
Yep. And he just dismissed it with, "I'm from Oregon. Don't worry about it. I don't get bent."
Yeah, no, it's a
Do
scary
you know
video.
people from Oregon don't get bent? That's cool. I didn't know that.
All right, 100 feet deep. Where's your safety? I know it's gonna tell me, but where do you think the safety stop should be?
Because we're going to be coming up the side of the wall here.
Yeah.
It's not a straight cliff. And we're not coming up in the middle of something.
Is there boat
So we'll be able to
trap-
stop at 20 feet. So
Do boats go through here?
I assume it's a lake.
Is there going to be a dive flag or a SMB floated at all times and the emergency procedures for those?
No, of course not.
Okay. So they don't have any experience with drift diving with boat traffic. It's a class, both of those.
All right.
it's going to trigger at 20 feet, and then it's going to have your countdown timer.
3 minutes?
Yeah. It'll actually tell you, because if you do multiple dives, these computers are really smart.
Nice.
And they'll tell you if you need to stay down longer.
Nice.
Now,
That is true.
1,000 PSI in your main tank is your limit before you need to start coming back up as well.
I'm not gonna. I just gotta stop. I gotta stop stopping it.
You just have to let some of these go, right? But since they're not talking, they're just going down. We can talk over and say
they
they're
won't-
supposed to come back with 1,000, not head up when you get 1,000.
The rule of thirds, you would be headed up after you use 1,000 psi.
Correct.
2,000
Out of 3,000.
psi left, you're coming up.
Right.
Not to
Correct.
mention unplanned decompression stops.
Correct. That thing, I mean, look at the tank. That thing is throwing him sideways. It has to be. Of course, they're vertical, so it's not such a big deal, but they shouldn't be vertical, I'm thinking. Yeah. Getting darker. By the way, a lot of people ask us, why don't we dive with full face masks? And there's a variety of reasons for that. But one of the big reasons for me is that you go through air faster with a full face mask, by the way. You can hear him breathing.
There's a ton of reasons unless you're trained for it.
Right. He's breathing so fast. You can try to keep up. Going through air like crazy.
Well, we don't know if that's balanced or unbalanced inside that full face mask.
Correct.
Because it gets really hard to suck the air if it's unbalanced.
I'm just trying to dump some of this air in my suit so I can become buoyant.
See, this is the problem. This is the problem. They get to the bottom and they have no buoyancy control. And this is not just this video. If you watch the other videos of the recoveries and stuff, they do the same. And that's why I offered to Jared, dude, just come and like spend a couple days with us. We'll help you, right? Improve it, not eliminate it, but and you'll see more. Let's watch more so you can see how they
Get
die.
neutral buoyant. Hold on. As soon as I let go, I'm shooting right up.
It's just this is gone.
Neutral and buoyant here on the ground. That's enough. Okay. 10-4.
Man, just so fast.
Well, they're cold.
Where you at?
I was watching this. I remember, like, okay, they're staying off the. Oh, never mind. God. I wish we had the audio better from what they're talking about, but. Just touching everything. It's just. This is why they dive in chocolate milk.
Yo. You good? You alright, bud? Huh? You okay?
Yeah.
Where's his buddy?
Diving.
That hand frozen?
Yeah.
I got some gloves if you want to put them on.
No.
That's his buddy. No, he's.
Oh yeah, they had radios.
So he said, "Go up. I'll hang out down here."
Probably not. He'll talk about what happened.
Have you ever seen it so dark?
It was beautiful. I missed my safety dive though.
Safety
I ran out of
stuff.
air.
So you came back up super fast?
Only from 30 feet.
Huh. I thought you had full tanks.
Thought I did too.
Jared knew you came up?
He saw.
You guys' comms are working?
Yeah. Can you hear me? I'm up top. My tank ran out. I'm okay. I repeat, I am okay. Well, definite learning experience.
Do they have emergency oxygen there? Or do they know what the purpose of having emergency oxygen is? Because we do discuss that in great detail in the deep class. I'm just saying, I could go through the whole deep class skills if people want the video to be an hour long. Do you think those skills that they teach, though, in the deep diving class would be relevant to what's going on here? What do you want me to say?
So I missed my safety stop for like a minute and a half, which is not good.
You're from Oregon, though. Don't worry
You were
about it.
only down 30 feet or you went to 100?
Oh no, we were over 100. I think at 110. Coming back up, we got to about 30 feet, and I felt my air getting really tight. I knew I was running out of air.
Yep.
Were your gauges working?
Huh?
Was that gauge working?
What? It went.
So, by the way, just a quick interruption here to say that you do feel that you're running out of air. And the reason for that is the difference in pressure between the first stage, the thing connected to the tank, and the second stage, which is the thing in your mouth, is set to a intermediate pressure, which it depends on the brand, but it's like 100 and something PSI, or like 10 bar, let's just say, for those of you who work in bars. So as soon as the air pressure in the tank gets lower than the intermediate pressure going to the regulator, you feel it. So when you run out of air in scuba diving, it's not you're out of air. It's not like you're breathing normal and then it's like, you're dying. That's not how that works. You actually feel it as it starts getting harder and harder to breathe. So once you go under that trigger, it's just harder. You're having to suck. So you do have like a 2 or 3 breaths before you run out to figure out what you're going to do.
Yes, great point. And what I was thinking when you were saying that, you see, for those of you out there that are looking at us with this, look at you sitting back, this elitist ego status,
exactly.
right? You see, you could say that, or you could say we're trained professionals because we are aware of the huge, enormous risks that these guys were taking, and I simply don't want anybody else to take those risks. I'm not saying, look at me, I'm way better than them.
Or you have to train with us.
Or don't
because
even
we're
train
the
with
best ones.
I'm
No.
saying if you want to be educated, then I hope Dive Talk gives you some of those concerns. I'm not an egomaniac. I'm not, Gus is not either. It's like, don't watch us then. I don't know what to tell you. If you want me to give an honest opinion, nothing here has gone right. Zero. Only a couple small comments that were kind of not discussed much by them were on point.
Yeah.
What do you want me to say? I mean, divers out there, you know that have taken these classes, you know how bad this is. It's dangerous.
Very scary.
He's solo diving right now. I don't know what's going on with
And when
him.
you're down, you have no air. I tried to put my back up in.
You did?
Huh?
You took out one of them?
No, I tried to put my back up in, and I ended up getting way too much water in my lungs. switched sooner. But it's actually minus any decompression issues. It's a good thing that it happened because it's a learning experience.
What did you learn?
I mean, it's never a good thing that something like this has happened.
And
Why we're here, we're training, we're getting it right.
Well, you could have just trained in a pool how to switch, like the full face mask class where they do it in a pool first, you know?
well, no, but I need to finish. What did you learn? It's a learning experience.
He's gonna tell you.
What did you learn?
Oh, it's coming.
Because when you switch to the air source 2 or
Yeah.
3 on your left side, because you were running out of air, what if your buddy runs out of air now?
Well,
did you practice with that? I'm asking. They may have, and it's a fair question. Could be yes.
Oh, okay. How many
I just
yeses
don't know what happened to my
have I
hair.
given you this?
1 second it was fine, and then in the next it's just. So in my classes, we did training on how to realize your air as you're about to run out. It gets real tight, and out of nowhere, it just got real tight. Like I have no air.
Jeez. I see his bubbles right
See
here.
how the tank is
Top
sideways?
His
That thing
bubbles
is
are right
so
here.
heavy, dude. It's like a 19
I
cubic
think he's
feet
coming
steel
out.
Scared
tank.
him.
Huh?
I know I really scared him.
But he couldn't just race to the top because he had to do this stop also.
Yeah, he can't come back up.
That's not a thing.
Like I did.
That's not true.
I don't know.
And
Unless it's a mandatory deco stop. The stop is called safety stop for a reason. We do it for safety, but you can skip it if you are in an emergency, right? If you have to come to the surface, do it slowly if you can, but you don't have to do the stop if you're in an emergency.
For
You should.
most people, they also build in that margin of error because we know that no decompression compression diving is a theoretical model
Correct.
based upon it hasn't been changed, I think, since like the 40s or 50s. However, some people do get bent in a no decompression dive if they skip that margin of error, which is the safety stop. And we don't know, by the way, right now if Doug,
No, Jared is the one who's on the water.
Jared, excuse me,
Yeah.
is exceeded his no decompression
Yeah.
limit. We don't know if he's at a safety stop or a mandatory deco stop.
Correct.
any deeper, we'd probably be on our way to the hospital right now. Because obviously, decompression, residual nitrogen levels, and
Just throwing terms out.
the deeper you are and you come straight up, the worse.
Yikes.
Yeah.
There he is.
All right. You all right?
Let me come over there with you.
Why is he not in oxygen right now?
I know what I did wrong.
So let's go through the entire dive.
Okay, so
We start out.
amazing, absolutely amazing. My ears are messing with me on the way down. I can't get my ears to regulate, so I kept having to come back up a few feet.
Because you're on a. Remember, I asked about
Still
the
have a
ears on a
problem.
full face mask?
Yeah, so going down, real rough, trying to get my ears to regulate. And even now, like, I'm having a lot of problems. So we're coming up, we're searching, we're just looking around on our way back up, easing our way back up. We get to, I believe it was, last time I checked my air, we were at like 36 feet.
And what is your air reading at this point?
My air was like, I want to say 1100. And then out of nowhere, I feel tight. I'm like in class, they demonstrated what no air feels like.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, well, what's going on? What's going on? Like, and it's breathing crazy. I have no air. So
Push it. Okay.
I had
Into your air. Let me see where you actually at. Looking over. Okay, so somehow you went from 11 to
none. Like it got completely tight out of nowhere. Took my mask off. Didn't purge it enough. First breath I get, all water, and At that point, I know I'm in trouble.
Didn't purge it enough.
So I just went straight to the top. Just in my mind, I'm like, all right, is this how I'm gonna go? You know, any deeper, you'd be down there looking for me right now. Probably. Yeah. I got up, spit it out, and yeah, I feel fine. Feel okay. Other than my ear, I feel fine.
So, did you misread your tank by any chance? Were you really at 100 instead of 1100? Like, you know for sure you were 11.
I'm gonna say yeah. I'm pretty sure.
I wonder if you read the time.
Yeah, purposely
Like dive
checked.
time, 11:36 or whatever.
We
How
can
I
go
could
into
have
the
been
log.
wrong, and how I could have used 3,000 psi.
It'll replay the whole dive.
When we first started out the dive, it was 2,900.
Okay.
It went from 31 to 2900.
And I'm at 8 right now, and I stayed under longer than you.
Yeah,
So yeah, you have 0 air in that tank.
yeah. So I had 4 super tight breaths. My first tight breath, I'm like, my second tight breath, I'm like, I know what's going on. And the third, I know I have to come out of this to get to this. And I purged it, but it's not enough. Like this thing holds a lot of water. And the first thing I had, the first breath was just all water. And I know I gotta go up. Yeah. That's why I'm fine. Other than being really cold.
And the nice thing is, we had a nice, meander coming up.
Yeah, now had that happened down at 100 feet, I probably still could have made it to the top, but obviously we'd be working with some different health issues at that point.
So we have air in your tank still.
So to get to 30 feet, you guys did a safety stop?
No, we came up very gradually. We came up on the rock side, looking through stuff, and
The slope is like this.
yeah.
That's what it's like.
So we came up real slow. I mean, technically, it should be fine.
Well,
But you see what I'm saying? Like I have no air. But there's no air getting to my mask. I don't know what's wrong. I'm connected correctly.
You think those
some air in there, so it's not like
the regulator could have frozen or whatever? Freeze?
Yeah, possibly.
So also, if you were completely out of air, how do you go up if you can't blow up your suit?
That's what this one is. So
Your momentum should carry you up.
two
What?
things that we have
Wait,
going
wait.
on. One is we have redundancy.
Excuse me.
So
You know that what they said. How did you blow up your suit to go up? Which of course we would be letting air out of our suit to go up. Otherwise you're going to fly. And I assume that he had that valve open on the way up. Dry suit valve. Listen, I'm not going to keep doing this because I'm going to get annihilated by your ego
You
maniac.
think you're better than everyone, yeah.
But
people, yeah.
Why should I do dive talk? Like, for those of you who are going to do that to me, why watch me then? I mean, if I don't have any value, let's say I don't know anything, it's probably not worth listening to me at all.
Right.
Like, I'm saying these things because, listen, I love diving. I really think it's the best activity in the whole world. And I believe in dive education. What do you want me to say? I believe that there are prescribed procedures by people that were far greater than me, and we should teach these procedures and practice them so we don't die. That's it. That's why I'm saying these things.
Not a lot to ask.
so even though his main tank was out, and even though he didn't purge this correctly, he had air here to breathe as well as to inflate his BC.
Yeah, so underwater.
This is his because we have the pony tanks. That's his redundancy.
Underwater, when I'm taking this mask off, or any mask off for that matter, I gotta do this.
Instructors, if you left your student in a deep, dry suit, full face combo class, because that's what it was for him. It's the first time he's ever done it. And Jared is acting as the instructor.
Right.
If you left your student at any moment during that
Let him
dive,
go, yeah.
please read any training agency standards. Are there any out there that said that you could have indirect supervision in a deep, dry suit, full face mask, first time ever, never in even confined water, combo class? Could you, whose fault would it be? I'll go one step further. Any training agency out there.
Yeah.
If something happens to him, whether he really ran out of air or not, Who should have been there the entire time in the ability to make immediate physical contact? You see, that's the kind of stuff you learn as an instructor.
Right.
So you can say that I don't need classes, but even as an instructor, there's things to learn. If you're going to take somebody on those experiences, which you shouldn't, you certainly should make sure you never, ever, ever leave them. And I mean leave them to where you can physically take care of them the entire dive.
Right. And I think people, like this will say that, well, but if that's the case, then how are you going to learn if you don't have these experiences?
We practice them in a safe, controlled environment, in a simulated manner.
Correct.
You're right. We don't know for sure how you're going to handle it if it really happens.
Yeah.
But for sure, you're not going to handle it as good as if you at least practice it in a simulated environment.
Yeah. I will say, though, that, Doug said something earlier about his weights and the inability to ditch weights. I'm not a big fan of ditching weights. I don't think you should. There's almost no situations where you should ditch weights. And the reason for that is that wherever you're diving, whether it is at 10 feet or 20 feet or 120, I don't care. You should be neutrally buoyant, meaning you should have enough air to counter the weight that you have and be able to keep your depth. So if you want to go up, you don't have to touch the inflator button whatsoever. All you do is kick up a little bit. The air within the BC will inflate and will start helping you out. And then you just have to deflate on the way up, which is one thing that students struggle with. How do I deflate to go up? It doesn't make sense. But that's because as you go up, because of Boyle's Law, the air inside your BC starts expanding and you have to let out so that if you go up 10, 20 feet, whatever, you can be neutrally buoyant again. And then you can kick up and keep going up. It's a control ascent, meaning you control it. You kick up. Right? So under almost no circumstance, you should be dropping weights and have an uncontrolled ascent. We never want an uncontrolled ascent.
However, the reason we have the safety mechanism of being able to ditch weights,
yes,
this is a perfect example of that. Number one, I have no idea if he's weighted properly. So to your point, valid point, if you are weighted properly and did a weight check and got neutral, maybe perhaps you don't need to ditch him. What if you flood that dry suit? What if you load it up with water?
Yep.
Is it going to be harder to go up? And I know it's going to displace as well, and it's still within water. It's going to be harder to go up, and you may not be able to go up. You may need your buddy's assistance, but he didn't have that. At that point, he may have even needed to ditch weight. So, listen, a lot of things here. I mean, honestly, this may be one of the best training videos we've ever done, but there's so many classes worth of information here in one dive.
They didn't get,
that it's hard to cover it all.
I did that, but I severely underestimated the amount of water that's in this.
So I'm wondering if you misread it, because it seemed like we were at 13 a long time ago, and that you would have blown through a lot more of that. So I don't think that you were at 1100. I think that you blew through that.
I think I was at like 110.
Yeah, I think you were just misreading your gauge.
Yeah, but Jared, but he should know what his air is. He should know what Doug's air is.
Right.
He's the supervisor.
Yeah.
Whether he shouldn't say, I wonder if you misread it. That's a problem. It's sorry, man. I want to do stuff with you guys, but hey, you want the truth?
Yeah.
So, Doug, what was it like at 100 feet?
It's different. Very, very different. If you wouldn't have told me like the mental difference,
What is the mental difference?
it's hard to explain. I think things are a lot slower.
Dexterity is slower.
Yeah.
Like gravity's different?
No, it's just like being. I don't even like Jared said dexterity.
It's a good way to explain it.
Good training experience for you. Pay closer attention to your air.
Yeah. Probably best case scenario for training.
Yeah.
So I was kind of telling the camera before you came out, like the hard training goes. It's perfect.
Best
I
case
like
scenario.
I don't
Patience.
say
And
about
I'm gonna learn from.
I mean, the nice thing about, what just happened too is, you didn't line up from 100 feet. We had already made a nice slow gradual climb up the bank. You were at 30 feet, is when it happened.
Right.
Ideally at 20 feet or less is when you want something like that to happen after we've already been coming up and we've,
Yeah.
and a lot of the nitrogen has come out of your system.
Yeah.
So that's one point that I wanted to stop for sure. And I hope I don't drag this forever. This is a big mistake or lack of knowledge about the science of diving that I see a lot when it comes to medical clearance, for example. And Jared just gave a good example of the misunderstanding of pressure at depth. So he said something like, well, you went straight and went through the safety stub. I'm glad you didn't do that deeper. And if you're going to do something like that, just bolt to the surface from like 20 feet. It's better than doing it deeper. It's actually the opposite, because the greatest change of pressure happens from 1 atmosphere, which is at the surface, to 2 atmospheres, which is at 33 feet or 10 meters, right? So if you bolt from 10 meters or 30 feet like Doug did to the surface, the size of the bubbles, if he had any bubbles of nitrogen inside of his body, doubled in size from 10 meters to 0, or from 33 feet to 0, right? Double in size. If you do that from 99 feet or 100 feet to 60 or 66, they only go from a quarter of the size to a third. So the change of size of the bubbles, it's actually, the deeper you are, the smaller the change on the size of the bubbles. The shallower.
It's 1/2 per atmosphere less expansion.
Correct. So
it's a great point.
If he bolted from 100 feet to 60, it would have been better than doing it from 20 to 0. Even though it sounds backwards and it sounds like it doesn't make sense, the deeper you are, the smaller the change in pressure overall. And you see this, as I mentioned, with doctors.
Well, it's not that it would have been better. It's no better.
Yes.
To bolt from 33 feet to the surface than it is from
99 to 66.
Yeah, I mean,
you shouldn't bolt, but it's not as bad.
But to your point, that last atmosphere is going to be the single biggest expansion.
Correct.
That may be the atmosphere that ultimately got you bent when you get to the surface.
Correct, because it's the biggest change.
If you would have bolted from 99 to 33 and then stopped at 33, to your point, that's better than
33
that last
to 0.
33 to 0.
For sure. And what I mentioned this, and I see this with medical clearance, is because sometimes doctors are like, well, you can dive to 30 feet, but no deeper than that. Like the pressure change will be too much after 30. No, the pressure between 0 and 30 is worse than from 30 to 60 or whatever it is. The deeper you go, the smaller percentage-wise the change of pressure.
But you are building up nitrogen quicker.
Correct.
And you very well easily could get into what's called a deco dive, decompression dive.
Correct.
So
what you're gonna have right now is you still have nitrogen buildup in your system. So like if you could have gone, like say that you didn't let enough air out of your suit and you had that nitrogen, the opportunity to go back down to 20 feet, you would have wanted to go back down to 20.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, we teach never to do that.
Right.
At that point.
It's weird, but I just had way too much air in my suit.
So, Doug, what are your takeaways from today?
My takeaway is I've been down to 100 feet, over 100 feet, 116 feet to be exact. Was in a really serious situation underwater where I ran out of air. Went to take my full face mask off to my...
I guess my question is, what did you learn?
Just to purge a little bit harder when I'm switching. I did that. I did it really too quick.
And got a mouthful of water?
Got a mouth and lung full of water. Not full of water, but I got a lot of water. Yeah. Before we went down, another thing we were talking about, don't panic.
Yeah.
Don't panic. I kind of stayed too calm. I knew the tightness of breath was telling me that I was running out of air. I should have made the change a little bit sooner than I did. But regardless, I didn't purge as hard as I should have. Which, in hindsight, it's a great learning experience.
You don't have
if
to
I'm ever
purge.
in that situation again, easy peasy.
You don't have to purge. There's 2 ways to clear a regulator. One of them is blowing.
Tongue guard.
Yep. So if he noticed that it was getting harder to breathe, that last breath, he had some air in his lungs. He just switch and blow out of it. That's it. No purging, no problem.
Yeah. the only other point I would want to make is, from my standpoint, I'm not allowed to show them buoyancy techniques unless they enroll in a formal perfect buoyancy class.
Really?
You're also not allowed under SSI standards. If you want to, absolutely would love you guys to take either of our perfect buoyancy class, and we'll go through the proper procedures step by step of how to manage your buoyancy significantly better. It's not just because you could silt out the bottom. There's many, many more whys behind that, and you will learn about that in the class.
Right.
So, guys,
And again, it's not for
if
clicks
you
or
don't want
anything.
the
We don't
card
have
after
to-
we do it, you
and
don't
we
have
don't
to.
have to record it. We don't have to advertise it.
You don't have
We
to take
care.
the card afterwards. If you earn the card
Yeah.
after taking the class, or if you want to take it from somebody else because you think
Sure.
I'm ego or something like this, that's great as well. But I would highly advise, from what I saw in this video, that both of them take that class so they can learn, oh, I never thought about that being the reason why I should focus on proper buoyancy and trim.
Good training scenario today. Learned something vital. And I'm one of those individuals where if I'm put in a position to learn, I'm gonna learn. And I always try to learn from the people around me.
Yeah.
You know, and especially when your life's on the line. Like this stuff is no joke.
Let's do it, Doug.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Did you teach Doug anything? Any takeaways that you think Doug should know besides purge better?
I think the big thing was, the information, shared before going in, before he ended up in a situation. Like he had mentioned earlier, knowing that when we hit the 100 foot, that things are going to change.
Yeah.
In addition to that, having the comms, being there for him, also going down. It's like, all right, don't push through it. You don't want to pop your ears as you're going down.
Yeah.
Come back up, equalize your ears.
It was a struggle getting down. Like I had to, there was probably 6-7 different times where I had to really take my time, come back up a few feet, equalize my ear, go down, come back up. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and the communication really makes all the difference.
Yeah.
Being able to not just be like, and not be like, what are you talking about?
Absolutely.
Because, that's how I learned how to dive and try to dive with others. I just simply don't like it.
Crazy dive, 100 feet, intense. It got
That was
extreme.
114.
116.
116 for him, 115 for me.
115. You know, I had to go 1 foot more than him. Yeah.
Competition.
So what is the deepest
Tough for
you've
me.
ever dove?
144.
144.
No way.
Wow.
It's like Titanic or
That's
yeah.
That's definitely not Titanic. Titanic is much deeper than that.
What, 164?
They're probably several hundred
I think
feet.
it's like 3,000. Titanic's
12,700.
Yeah,
by the way.
but you see, I'm just having a hard time. I really am. Like, why? He's 144. Like, why? Okay, who cares? And why is that a good thing to exceed the 130 recreational? Why would you brag about or act like? I don't know if he was bragging about it. I don't want to read into it, but
No, I
it
think he was
sounded
just
confident.
answering.
Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that on a video.
Yeah. No, but
It's really dangerous to go below
People do talk
130
about that.
feet. It's
Yeah.
very dangerous, though. If
Yeah.
you want to say 144, what kind of gas were you using?
Yeah.
What technical dive training did you take to go below 130 feet? I'm not going to change on this, guys.
Yeah.
This is our channel's purpose. This
down there.
Bottom
bad.
Several thousand. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
So I was watching a conspiracy thing the other day. Supposedly the Titanic isn't what sunk.
I heard that.
It's the brother, right?
They had 2 ships.
Yeah.
I forget the big, huge banking corporation. I forget the name of it.
This guy. You and conspiracy.
Well, he may be right on this part.
Meeting quotas and
he's-
deadlines, right?
Yeah.
Is what it was.
It made all the sense in the world when they said it, but who knows?
Titanic conspiracy. So leave a
Yeah.
comment in.
Yeah, right.
Comment down below if you know what they're talking about.
I want to research it.
I don't know the gist of it. I just heard it.
The Titanic had brother ships or sister ships named the Olympic and the Britannic. The Britannic being my holy grail of wreck diving, down at 390 feet of depth in Greece. Sank in 1916. But yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know why I'm a nerd about Titanic
Yeah,
history.
that's cool. That's it. I'm just I guess you would have expected that I'm reacting this way, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff here, Gus. I don't know what else to say. This video almost defines the entire purpose of Dive Talk.
Right. And I wonder, and this is why I wanted to do it with Jared here in the room, Jared and Doug, because I want to talk to him. I wanted to understand, why do you do, like, why do you think it's okay to do this? And I feel, in some cases when I watch Adventures with Purpose, which again, I watch every video they put out, we're subscribers, I feel like they are starting to move a little bit into the sensational side of it. Like, some of their videos will be like, at 110 feet, Doug is blind. Like, stuff like that is like, he has lights. Like, there's no, it's the same in the cave, right? We get those comments. It's like, why would you want to be on a place so dark you can't see anything? No, guys, we have lights. It's like daylight down there when we're cave diving. So I don't like the sensationalization of it, I guess.
I'm okay with that part. I don't mind if they're wanting to switch and just be entertainers.
Yes.
And absolutely, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with, I want more. I'm doing this because I want more subscribers. Yeah. And I want to make more money. Oh, great. That's not like a negative. That's
after.
Awesome. But safety has to be an ultimate message, because otherwise you're endangering other people.
So I figure if we can't have him here in the room, maybe we should just have him virtually. What do you think?
That would be very awesome.
See if we can talk to Doug.
Yeah, and I would love to hear their perspective. Is it Doug that we're gonna? Sounds like you somehow arranged by miracle again.
Let's bring him in.
Awesome. I love when you do this.
All right, and here we have Doug joining us from Adventures with Purpose. Welcome to the show.
Wow.
Thanks for having me.
Doug, this is Woody. First of all, man, I love your stuff. Like, your channel is amazing.
Thank you.
And the beard. I'm jealous.
That's cool.
That's legit.
And his smile, Doug, you have one genuine smile. Some people smile with their eyes, and I think your personality really comes out in your videos and the way you talk. Very authentic.
It also came out. It also came out on the video we just reacted to, which, as you know, is the video where you went down for the first time over 100 feet, and you had a couple of issues, right? And I was telling Woody, I'm like, I wonder if after the dive, like, maybe you have time to think and look at the gear and all that stuff, if you actually figure out what actually happened. Because during the video, it was sort of like, I don't know, like it looked like 1100 PSI left on my tank, and all of a sudden I had no air, and I don't know what happened. Yeah. So did you have the opportunity to like kind of look back and figure out actually what happened?
Yeah, I mean, as you guys know, in almost every situation, hindsight can be 20/20. The underlying main issue with this was my mismanagement of air. If you want to put that into, this being, my first really deep dive, there's really no excuse to mismanage your air, bottom line. I didn't keep track of it, and it put me in a predicament, where I had to come out of my full face mask and switch over. And that first tight breath, that we all get taught what that means. I have a weird, it's helped me a lot how I stay calm in really tough situations. When I got that first tight breath, I was too calm. I should have been calm, but I should have been more methodical with my switch over, going through my gears, and that didn't happen. I was way too calm when I got that first tight breath. Obviously being, a lot deeper, dexterity and all, whatever you want to put in there. When I made that switch over, I didn't clear it as much as I needed to, didn't have enough air to finish it, the clearing, and got too much water in my mouth and had to come up.
So was it one of those where you're like, you had that big tough breath and you were like, huh, that's interesting. Like, you just, instead of like acting, you were like, huh, I wonder, let me take another one. Yeah, that's bad.
Not necessarily. I thought I had 1100. Last time I checked, I was at 1100. And obviously being deeper, you're using a lot more air quicker than I'm accustomed to. And that's pretty much what it was, going through my air and, the dives that I had been on before, and my gear of, okay, I know I have this much time, that sense of time was completely off, being that deep.
Right.
And, when I made that switch over, it was just, I didn't have enough air to clear the way I should have. And thankfully, if there's any blessing into this, we were already on our way up the cliff. So it wasn't from 100 feet. We
Right.
were roughly, I don't know exactly, I would say between, 30 and 50 feet.
Right. Interesting.
So, I'm gonna ask you just a series of questions, and honestly, they're from the perspective of it. I just want to understand the facts,
Yes.
and let people decide for themselves if this was a good thing or a bad thing. Have you ever taken from a professional dive instructor a dry suit and or a full face mask formal class?
Not a formal class, no.
Okay.
I have had some one-on-one instructing from a dive instructor. I mean, I don't know. It's not formal though.
Okay. And I was just asking because I want to make sure I understand, the facts about this.
Yeah.
Have you, you said that you mismanaged your air, and that's something that we certainly are taught in a very different way in a deep class than we are in an open water class of what to do. Not the same, not even close to the same. What is your air what was your air management plan? Since you said you mismanaged it, what was your air management plan in, maybe it was a briefing off camera, on how you were going to manage your air in this dive? What was the plan?
Our plan was 1,000. We were headed
1,000 what?
1,000 PSI. We were coming back up. Whenever we reached 1,000, that was our go-to to come back up.
Okay.
Which we should have already, been in our ascent up the cliffside there, which is a gradual ascent.
Okay. And I'm going to ask you these questions because I just have to, right? I mean, you guys are really some super awesome, good guys. And I know you're open to dive education because you said you are, and that's cool. I love that attitude.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a rookie, I mean, I have over 130 dives in less than a year, but still I'm a rookie.
Do you know what the rule of thirds as it relates to diving is in an open water environment, non-overhead environment? Do you know what that is?
Sort of, yes.
Okay. What that is, just to make sure that is that the deepest part of your dive, so going down and getting to the deepest part of your dive, you're going to use at most, especially on a deep dive, 1/3 of your air. So that the return, you would look at your gauge and you start your ascent when you have 2,000 PSI left, assuming you started with 3,000. Okay. Do you know at 100 feet how many times faster you were breathing your air than at the surface? Just to help you understand why it was going down so much faster. Do you remember that? Do you remember those rules? And it's okay if the answer is no, because a lot of people do.
Yeah, vaguely, yes.
It's
and combine that with the fact that I'm a horrible breather. I don't breathe calm. I never have been able to. I don't know if that's the type of diving that I'm doing. It's intense.
And that's okay, by the way. That part's fine.
So if you combine that factor in with the fact that I'm, I guess I don't know if it's a natural heavy breather, but I am.
It's exciting too.
Well,
first time at 100 feet is exciting.
Well, in the deep class, the one thing we would teach you is when you were at 99 feet, you were at what's called 4 atmospheres underwater, which means you were breathing your air 4 times faster than you would at the surface. But the gas planning, a skill that we learn and certainly would have briefed by a dive instructor, a deep dive instructor that would have allowed you to earn that certification, one thing we would have taught you is, both of you, we would have known before the dive what your surface air consumption rate is, known as your SAC rate.
Right.
Why we want to know that is because we will plan the dive around that surface air consumption rate of the worst breathing diver. Then we can really do your air management. Maybe you needed X amount of gas. Maybe you needed X amount of time at that depth, no matter what his gas consumption rate is. Both of you then would have started an ascent, at the same time. And certainly under, just so you know, okay, we teach under zero circumstances can you ever be alone. Zero. There is no, unless you have a solo certification, and I don't even like those, you can't be, because your options are really limited, especially when you have a full face mask on. So I'm bringing out these points, and I'm not going to do this anymore. There's a slew of things that we teach in the dry suit class, much more than how to add air so that the pressure squeeze isn't too great. That's one of, I don't remember, 10 or 15 emergency skills that we teach. That's one of them. Full face mask is unbelievably complicated. And in the video, I asked Gus while it was playing, Gus, do you know how to do this on a full face? Do you know how to do that on a full face? Do you know how to do this on a full face? And it's a fair thing to say no. And then we get into the deep class. The deep class has many, many things that we discuss that are far greater than sort of the, I don't know if your briefing went beyond what we saw in the video,
right?
But a briefing to this extent, where you're going to be in a form of doubles with a dry suit, with a full face mask on, below 100 feet, would have had to had probably 5 pool sessions, I'm thinking. Yeah, or more. Plus a gradual bring you into that situation. Because, and here's why I'm saying all that, before everybody says that I'm arrogant, because you're amazing.
Oh, he did. So
That's
good.
why
I'm
saying all of this, because you, sir, Doug, were amazing, considering what I will call no formal training in this situation.
This meeting is being recorded.
I don't know.
So
I'm saying all of these things not to criticize you. I'm saying all these things that, hey, you out there, you're no Doug. Like don't even begin to think that you could have handled what he got, either very lucky or he has a presence of mind, but never, ever, ever act like an instructor unless you are one. Because I don't know Jared, but almost not anything he said was right in this briefing. There was a couple of things he said.
I loved, just to piggyback on what you said. Doug, I mean, you didn't.
Oh, Doug was amazing.
It was insane. Like I wish I counted how many like things they gave you that were new to you. Like, oh, by the way, this is a new setup. Oh, by the way, this is a new regulator. Oh, by the way, this is a new computer. Oh my God. It's like they just kept on handing you stuff. You know what? Carry this stick. Carry this stick. The whole dive. They just keep on giving him stuff.
How did you do it, dude?
And the attitude, dude, and your attitude is like, okay, roger that. Let's do it. Like,
but be careful, because you aren't a representative of what most people can handle. And just please tell our viewers that. Understand that.
Yeah,
man, you could have died. It easily could have died in this situation. You didn't have SMBs. There were boat traffic flows through there. There's current. I mean, we could go on and on. It was crazy dangerous.
Absolutely. It was really dangerous. And you know what, Jared's very open, about, he's not an instructor. And, if you're with him at your own risk. A lot of people don't know Jared as far as, being just this black and white open book like that. Is that textbook? And I'm sure everybody's going to agree that that's not textbook. And, my ability to deal with that and, adapt to those circumstances are just insanely rare. And so, It may have looked really calm and not that big of a deal on camera. However, I have a weird, unique ability to be calm in those situations, and yeah, don't ever try that.
Yeah,
Don't,
and I
don't try
appreciate you
it.
saying
And
that.
I know the risks that I'm taking. You know, but there's a big difference from you know, what I went through, what others should expect to go through, and so forth.
Yeah, and you know, the other thing is that you got really lucky that you weren't bent, because did you guys have oxygen on site?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Good.
Yeah.
Good. We didn't know that. I asked that. I didn't
Mhm.
pose it as a fact. I just said, please, hopefully,
I hope.
they have emergency oxygen, because I would have immediately, when you came up and said you skipped a stop, it could have been a deep stop. I don't know.
Mhm.
There are deep stops in deep diving that are different than your safety stop.
Right.
You would have been on oxygen if I was with you, for sure, without question.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the other thing I wanted to mention is, you know, your attitude is, you know, Roger that, I'm gonna go do it. And I fear sometimes that as you know, you guys do bigger and better things, like the last video where you guys pull a boat from 100 feet or whatever it was. I watched that video as well. That you especially, Doug, with your attitude, are gonna be like, oh, 1,000 feet, okay, what do I have to do? Just give me, you know what I'm saying? Like I am really concerned because you have the best attitude, and I think, you know, that attitude also transplants into learning and training and learning new things. But again, you know, just be careful with pushing the boundaries. I don't think you guys have done that, at least not on video that I've seen. It's always kind of like up to 100 feet, staying, you know, within your realm. And I've talked to Jared about this. I said, look, if you're ever in a situation where there's a car at 200 feet or something, like, please don't risk it. Like, you know, we're here to help, and others, we're not the only ones that are trained to go down to 330 feet. Like, there's a bunch of trimix divers out there. Just seek help. It doesn't have to be us.
And in fact,
don't push it.
In fact, unless you are a mixed gas instructor, do not seek their help, because you can't go to those depths without being on helium.
Yeah.
You can't. Nobody can get used to being narked. We've never been able to prove that you can be used to it. What happens is you may be able to deal with one problem, but a second problem your brain cannot handle whatsoever. So just be careful. Get the certification, frankly. Cool if you guys want to go deeper, but go get trimix certified first before you do that.
Did you do any more dives, Doug, after that? That you went deep and like it didn't end up with an emergency?
You know, so the episode that we just released with the Diesel brothers, Heavy D and Diesel Dave, you know, they had an accident down on Lake Powell. Their boat was at 100 feet. That was the only time that I've been back to 100 feet since then. You know, well over 100 dives within those two dives. Fortunately, you know, all of our dives are between, you know, 10 to 25 feet. You know, they're all small rivers and creeks and ponds and so forth.
Yeah.
You know, and from what I've been told through, you know, people in the dive community, honestly, that's where most of the injuries come from, or in the shallower depths, which is weird. You would think it would come from deeper.
We were just talking about that at the end of the
video. That is another item that you'll hear us mention in the video about the comment that was related to, thank goodness, you know, you didn't bolt all the way up from deep. Rather, you only did that from shallow, because I don't want to, we don't need, it'll get too long, but it's way more dangerous to bolt from that last atmosphere. That's the biggest expansion of gas, is right at the end. So that may be why you're hearing that. But again, the purpose of this was to say that, in fact, you're amazing. You're not the norm. You're not the normal. And we just wanted everybody to hear that. None of us are superstars. I mean, we're just human beings, and we want to preach dive safety. And thank you for allowing us, frankly. Thank you for even being willing to come on, knowing that we have to talk about these things. That's pretty bold to do that.
Oh no, absolutely. And if there's anything from that situation that I went through that could possibly help somebody else, by all means. And in hindsight, it was really as horrible as is the sound, there's so much that got drilled into my brain from being in that scenario,
Right.
that I will be, if I'm in that scenario again for any other, reasons, I'm going to be a lot more, I'm going to know exactly what to do efficiently. I knew what to do. It was just, I got put in that situation and I wasn't flawless with it. When your life's on the line, you have to be flawless. You
gotta train.
I gotta get out of jail free card on that one,
Yep.
and I most likely won't get one on the next time. So I gotta be, really smooth with it. As much as we dive and, the circumstances we're diving are pretty intense. So
Yeah.
it's, hopefully it won't happen, but I'm expecting it to happen and I'll be ready because of that.
Doug, thank you. Really, again, I really appreciate it. You guys have an amazing channel. I am entertained by it always. I highly recommend their channel, by the way.
Absolutely.
I really do. Adventures with a Purpose. And I love it because you guys have done some amazing things, by the way. Hey, these guys have solved some things that nobody else could ever solve.
Yeah.
So they have a purpose, which is really cool.
Mhm.
And it's entertaining at the same time. So I love that. I applaud you. Both
Yes.
of you.
So far in the last 2 years, we've been able to solve 22 cold cases in America.
Amazing.
And
Amazing.
we're now doubling our team. So we've done 22 cold cases solved in the last 2 years with just one team. And this year coming up, we're going to be doubling our team. So we hope to double those numbers and help a lot of families out.
Well, good luck. Do it safely. Thank you for being on. Maybe sometime we'll get to do something together.
Yeah.
If you ever want to take we care a lot about buoyancy and trim, not just for the look, but for other reasons. We're not allowed to ever teach a class informally. We're not allowed under standards. It would have to be a formal class, but it would be such a cool honor, not to mention a great episode, to do any kind of formal training with you guys because you're badass, frankly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I talked to Jared about the gear as well. I'm like, dude, let's check out the gear and see what we can add from cave diving or whatever to improve safety and redundancy and all that stuff. So that's awesome.
Dude, I am, I don't know it all. And when it comes to diving, really, I know nothing. I've only been in it a little bit over a year now. I have a ton of dives in, but still, I don't know everything. I don't pretend like I do. And I want to know and learn as much as I possibly can.
Well, we would have fun. I promise you this. At least my style of teaching is fun, is mandatory because you learn through fun. So it would be fun, but we would learn, and I would learn from you too. I always learn from students at the same time. I'm all about that. But
I will say though that Doug is not the first person that is part of the Adventures with Purpose family that we've reacted to in the past. And we actually reacted to Sam having an emergency with a full face mask as well. What's going on with this full face mask?
There's a lot of learning with those. That was some hard training on full face mask.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've had a lot of people in the dive industry that have been like, dude, you're already in a full face mask. And I know it's very technical. It is, I'm comfortable with it now. And, fortunately for me though, I deal with the full face mask and depths that, most people are in full face mask a lot deeper than I am.
Right. For sure. But in case people haven't seen it, I'm going to leave the video here so people can check it out. Thank you, Doug, so much for joining us today. Again, big fans of Adventures with Purpose. We'll keep tuning in. Every one of our subscribers is probably a subscriber of your channel.
Yes.
Judging by the amount of people that ask us to collaborate with you guys and react to your videos, we look forward to doing more of that. And anything else to add, Woody?
Thank you, Doug. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gus and Woody. I appreciate it. And if you guys are watching this and you're not subscribed to Gus's, to Dive Talk, to Woody and Gus or us, subscribe to everybody.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Right on. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye, everybody.